Cornflake Coin by Jonny Zucker. Chapter 1. The Find. "Look!" cried Kerry. She was scrabbling in the long grass. "What is it?" asked Omar. It was lunchtime, and Kerry and Omar were out in the school field. Kerry held up something round and shiny. It gleamed in the sun. "It's a coin," she said. "It looks really old." "Let's take it to Mr. Hart," said Omar. "Then he'll put it in for the competition. You never know, you might win." The local newspaper was running a competition for schools in the area. The child who found the oldest and most exciting treasure would win a trip for two to Space Fun Park. "You can find buried treasure anywhere," the newspaper had said. "Let's have a look at that coin," said Omar. Omar spun it in his fingers. "Wow," he said. "It does look old." Omar passed it back to Kerry, who was jumping about with excitement. "It's a real treasure coin," she grinned. "Come on," she shouted. "We're going to show this to Mr. Hart right now." Chapter 2. The Real Thing. Mr. Hart was sitting at his desk when Kerry and Omar burst into the classroom. "What's going on?" asked Mr. Hart, looking up. "I just found this on the field," panted Kerry. "Will you enter it for the buried treasure competition?" She dropped the shiny coin onto Mr. Hart's desk. Mr. Hart rubbed the coin. Then he looked at the writing on it. Kerry and Omar stared at him. "If you look at the edge of the coin," he said, "you can see the words Fun Start." Kerry and Omar looked at each other. "You mean like Fun Start, the cereal?" asked Kerry. Mr. Hart nodded. "Yes, Kerry. This coin looks real, but it's a copy. It's a free gift from a cereal packet. I'm really sorry." Kerry felt her heart sink. Mr. Hart saw her face. "Cheer up, Kerry," he said. "There's plenty of time to find some real treasure before the competition closes." Kerry and Omar walked back across the classroom. They were about to go out when they heard someone behind them. It was Matt Thorn. He was always saying mean things. Now he was laughing at Kerry. Chapter 3. Cereal Laughter. The next day all the class knew about Kerry's cereal packet coin. Matt Thorn had told everyone. Kerry wanted to enter a cornflake coin in the treasure competition. Matt smirked. Everyone laughed, but Matt laughed the loudest. "That's enough, Matt," said Mr. Hart. "Don't let Matt bother you," whispered Omar, but Kerry had gone red in the face. She was angry with Matt and cross with herself. How could she have been so stupid to think that coin was real treasure? Over the next few days, everyone talked non-stop about the treasure competition. Lots of children brought in things they'd found at home or in their gardens. Cara brought in some yellow old photos. Ben dug up an old glass bottle, and Jas brought in an old children's book with a green cover. Then Matt Thorn showed everyone a white and blue china teacup. He'd taken it out of his grand's cupboard. Mr. Hart looked at the teacup very carefully. "This is very old, Matt," he said. "I think it's got a good chance of winning the competition." Matt chuckled proudly. Kerry glared at him. There was no way she was going to let him win. At the end of the day, she hurried out of school. "What are you doing?" asked Omar, trying to keep up with her. "We have to find something older than Matt's teacup," Kerry said. Back home, Kerry asked her mum to take them to the park. Kerry and Omar looked under benches, in bushes, and next to the fence. They found half a pencil and an old football. Then Kerry asked her mum if they could go down by the canal. "What are you two up to?" asked Kerry's mum. "Nothing," said Kerry. By the canal they looked under the bridge and along the path. They found a broken doll and 6 empty sweet packets. Half an hour later they were both tired and fed up. "Let's go home," said Omar. Kerry nodded glumly. "Let's forget about the stupid competition," she said. Chapter 4. Barker Digs for Gold. At the weekend, Kerry and Omar were in the park having a picnic with Kerry's mum and dad. Kerry was still in a bad mood. "What's up with you?" asked her mum. Kerry shrugged her shoulders. I'm taking Barker for a walk before he digs any more holes, her dad said. Why don't you two come with me? Don't feel like it, said Kerry. Come on, said Dad. We can go up the big hill where they're building that new cafe. Kerry groaned. She stood up and took Barker's lead. 10 minutes later they were at the top of the hill. There was a huge muddy hole in the ground where the cafe was going to be built. Dad went to look at the yellow digger parked under some trees. Barker suddenly started howling and pulling away from Kerry. She dropped his lead. In a second he had raced down into the hole and started digging. Maybe he's found some real treasure, Kerry shouted. I bet it's just an old bone, said Omar. He's always digging up something. Barker scrabbled about and dug up some bits of wood. Then he trotted over to Kerry. There was something in his mouth. The look of excitement vanished from Kerry's face. Just our luck, she grumbled. It's another of those stupid cornflake coins. Let's keep it anyway, said Omar. You can if you want to, shrugged Kerry, handing him the coin, but I've had enough of cornflake coins. Just then Kerry's dad called them over. It was time to go. Omar slipped the coin into his pocket. Kerry grabbed Barker's lead, and they all went back down the hill. Chapter 5. And the winner is... On Friday, Mr. Hart packed up all of the treasure that the class had found. He put it into a big cardboard box. The competition closes today, he said. I'll drop this off at the newspaper after school. Does anyone have anything else? Everyone shook their heads. Then Omar felt a coin in his back pocket. It was the one Barker had found. Kerry's dog found this, he said, passing the coin to Mr. Hart. It's another cornflake coin, called Matt Thorn. Everyone laughed. Why did you have to bring that out? Hissed Kerry crossly. A few days later the whole school was packed into the hall. A tall woman stood up. My name is Claire Fenton, she said. I'm the editor of the local newspaper. I'm very glad to tell you that someone from this school has won our buried treasure competition. There was a ripple of excitement in the hall. Everyone looked at Matt Thorn. They'd all heard about his teacup. Matt was grinning from ear to ear. He was getting ready to collect his prize. The winner is, said the editor, Kerry Robinson. Kerry has found a real Roman coin. There were gasps of surprise, and then everyone began clapping. Kerry stood up in shock. She grabbed Omar's elbow. You're coming with me, she said. The only person not clapping was Matt Thorn. Well done, beamed the editor. You will be on the front page of our newspaper this week. The editor handed Kerry the tickets for Space Fun Park and smiled. Mr. Hart said your dog Barker found the coin. Barker found it, replied Kerry, but Omar helped too. He stopped me throwing it away. I thought it was a cornflake coin. Well, it's a good thing that Barker knew what it was, laughed the editor. I think he and Omar should be on the front page too, don't you? On the way back to class, everyone wanted to talk to Kerry and Omar. Matt Thorn walked behind, his face looking like a thundercloud. Mr. Hart smiled at Kerry. Barker dug up the real thing, didn't he? Yes, Kerry nodded. It's a good thing he knows the difference between a treasure coin and a cornflake coin. She looked at Omar, and they both grinned. The end.